This is the homily for January 25th, 2026. Blow our whistles in the dark until the whole world hears, in memoriam. Our gospel reading today comes from Matthew 4:12-23. Now when Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and made his home in Capernaum by the sea, in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun, land of Naphtali, on the road by the sea, across the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people sat in great darkness who have seen a great light, and for those who in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned. From that time, Jesus began to proclaim, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is now here." As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is now called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat where their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went through Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. This timeline really surprises me. Even Jesus, seen as the Messiah in both the Gospels of Matthew and Jude, as soon as he was born, and then later when his family was in Jerusalem for pilgrimage, he stayed behind to learn at the feet of the teachers of the law. When he was of age, he became a carpenter, as his father was before. Then suddenly, it seems, at the age of 30 or so, he goes out to the Jordan River to be baptized by John the Baptist. Now, when the dove descends, it seems he finally got the message. First, the birth, the staying behind to learn from the rabbis. He was actually 30 or so before he switched gears suddenly. It is especially puzzling, even problematic, because the average age of death in Palestine was 30 to 35. You'd better hurry. So though we cannot look at this as a biography, but a journey of faith, he got the message in a muddy backwater of the Jordan River. And then in this gospel passage, the brothers Andrew and Peter and the brothers James and John were at the seaside in Galilee, cleaning and fixing the nets to be ready for the next day's tide. It both confuses and astonishes me. Jesus himself, according to the differing accounts from the Gospels, was seen in retrospect as the Messiah from the get-go. But according to statistics, as I've already said, he was nearing the end of his natural life. As far as we can imagine, the four friends, sons of fishermen, whose sons would be expected to follow in their footsteps, were quite probably fishing and then cleaning their nets after the bountiful day's catch and looking forward to a quiet meal at home with their family, probably yet again a fresh caught fish. We can assume that they were content with their lives, the only one they had known, and it seemed to be enough for them until that fateful day when Jesus walked by, stopped, and beckoned them to follow him. And they did, without even taking time to say goodbye to their families, let alone to stop to explain to them why or where they were going. Perhaps even they, at the beginning of their journey, did not even know themselves. Does this cataclysmic call ever happen now in our own world? Don't most of us just plod through the day where nothing truly happens? That's amazing. We just follow the day without fanfare or fireworks, much less the lead bullets flying through the air to pierce soft flesh. We probably have a naive and basically ultimately untrue blanket of protection that we can just wrap around us each day, day after day, until a snowy day on a street in Minneapolis on January 7th. What started out as a normal day for Renee Good. She had packed her 6-year-old son in the back seat, along with lunch and their large family dog, and had just driven him to school. As she drove home for her daily routine, she noticed out of the corner of her eye a group of ICE agents huddled together. So she decided to drive nearer to be an observer of what was happening. Not, of course, before she opened the glove box to draw out her weapon in case she needed it. Here's a picture of it. It was something that she and her neighbors had added to their daily equipment so that they could call out and be vigilant and be able to sound the alarm whenever they saw something going on against their neighbors. It was not long before ICE noticed this dangerous woman with a whistle in her hand. Afraid she was going to use it, they went towards the car. The request was simple, basically, get out of here. As she rolled down her window, she spoke her last words. That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. As she turned her wheel away to go, the ICE agent shouted out the last words she would ever hear. You fucking bitch, as he fired several shots into her. It was an odd phrasing. That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. So I did a little bit of research. Renee really was not a stay-at-home mother, but a very well-known poet who wrote this poem following in 2020. She won an award for it from the American Academy of Poets. Here it is. It describes her philosophy of life, words of affirmation, not destruction and division and hate. People ask us where words come from, as if words were saplings planted in neat rows and poets harvest only what is easy to pluck. Rather, we had to struggle for the truth. Queer and slant as it is, every single one of us is a self-proclaimed poet. There is no authority to bestow such an understanding, and besides, art is not something you have been given, but something you choose to give. Sneer all you want. That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. As I read this poem in the context of the day's events, it struck me that it was a declaration of the way she chose to live. Art is not something that you have been given, but everything you choose to give. That snowy morning, she was consciously choosing to help her neighbors, no matter what color or nationality they were, simply because they were her neighbors, and it cost her her life. Immediately, the counter-narrative of lies and deceit started up. She hit the house agent as she was speeding away, according to fiction. She was an outside agitator. To top it off, she bled to death as the ICE terrorists surrounded her car, blocking the physician with his bag, running to get to her in time. So in her dying moment, she was surrounded by total strangers who perceived her through their war-mongering eyes as a threat, then shot her, knowing full well there would never be any repercussion for them. The news spread like wildfire, warmer than the surrounding soil and snow. By the next day, the streets not only of Minneapolis, but of the nation and every state, millions and millions of ordinary people came out to protest, most wrapped up in warm blankets, gloves, and scarves. But let's pause for a moment at the sight of her murder, as so many others did. There in the melting snow were memorials, mostly flowers thrown down in tribute, a gay flag showing we had lost one of our own. Renee's daughter, whose name was just listed as daughter on the cover of her book that she wrote right after her mother died, just sat down at her desk and, following her legacy, began writing poetry to express her own grief, statement, and salt. A strange, albeit important title, but with little luck and internet assistance, I believe I unearthed its meaning. The main function of the stain is to produce the pollen grains, which house male gametes or sex cells necessary for reproduction. The anther is located within the stamen where these gametes are created. As for the salt, this is self-evident. We know that salt is used in cooking, although it is not known when it started. Salt preservation was used in Egypt by at least 2000 BCE, and most importantly, it cannot be destroyed. So it means we will pollinate the truth and resistance, and we cannot be destroyed ever. We are indestructible. I chose 3 of her daughter's poems to show the trajectory of grief, the capturing of her spirit, and the determination to live in the world with hope. This first one, oddly named, I must admit, is called The Fetal Pig Legacy, Resurrection. This is the poem that won her mother's prize title. She wrote, "Life is merely to ovum and sperm, and we are those two wheat." She reduced it to biology and understood the miracle. Now I reduce it to ballistics to understand the tragedy. Life is merely to bullet and bone, and where those two meet, and how often and how well. She wrote about the hairy legs of cockroaches and pentameter. She found poetry in the grotesque. Can I find poetry in this? Can I find a tercet in a police tape? Can I find a rhythm in the siren? I must, because I am her daughter. I have her DNA in my cells. I am the poem she left behind. I dissect the memory of her. I peel back the layers of skin. I cut through the fascia. I look for the heart, as she called it, the piddly brook of the soul. Is it there? Between the pancreas and the large intestine? Or was it blown away by the gunshot? I don't find the brook. I find a river, a raging torrent of grief. It floods my insides. It drowns my organs. But I learned to swim. I learned to breathe underwater. I learned to be the fish in her river. The grieving daughter, just 15, announces that she will learn to swim, to breathe underwater as fish in her mother's river. She will ultimately not be defeated by anyone. The second poem is the daughter's reflection, recollections who her mother was to her. It's called Sparkle. She literally sparkled, Becca wrote. I mean, she didn't wear glitter, but I swear that she had sparkles coming out of her pores. This is the legacy, not the shooting, not the politics, the sparkle, the radiance of a woman who loved messy art, the light of a woman who stopped to help a neighbor. They tried to put out the light. They shot the face that sparkled. But light is tricky. It reflects. It refracts. It bounces off the snow. It bounces off the camera. Then it shines in the vigil candles. It shines in the yellow vests. You can kill the source, but you cannot seal the photon, kill the photon. The sparkle is still traveling. I look for sparkle in the mirror. Do I have it? Do I have her pores? I see my father's eyes. I see my own chin. But maybe in the bright light, I see a glimmer, a faint bioluminescence, the inheritance of the mother. I will polish it. I will feed it tea and cookies. I'll make it grow until it blinds the agents, until it illuminates the whole damn city. Then the final one, the one which is actually addressed to us, the vigil. We gathered, thousands of us, candles in the snow, steel drums with burning wood to keep warm. Justice for Renee. We stood on the street where she died. We reclaimed the asphalt. We melted the ice with our heat. My father stood there. My brother. Becca. We are a tableau of grief, but we are not alone. The city held us. The supportive community she wanted. She found it. In death, she found it. The neighbors came out. The strangers came out. They whistled. a symphony of whistles, not a warning this time, a salute. The candles flickered in the wind. A sea of stars on the ground. We sang songs, we cried. We held hands, we created a human barrier against the night. And for a moment, just a moment, I felt safe. I felt the coastal jungle sounds returning, the tercets of the heart beating in unison. We were not victims, we were a choir. And our song was louder than the gunshot. By now, weeks later, the flowers have wilted, the snow has melted away, but the news spread like wildfire, warmer than the melting snow. By the next day, the streets, not only of Minneapolis, but of the nation, in every state, millions and millions of ordinary people came out to protest, most wrapped up in warm jackets, gloves, and scarves. This video shown here was also taken the next day on the same street. Others protested all over this land, both big cities and small towns, to stand firm in our memory, and all these people will not go away until justice is served.
Tonight, despite the brutal cold, a massive crowd of anti-ICE protesters flooding downtown Minneapolis. It's part of today's statewide boycott on work, school, and shopping.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you that you would do that to a child?
I was immediately drawn to this video because on the left side are people standing peacefully with their whistles in their hands, facing off against a heavily armed truck with a loudspeaker. But their actions speak louder than the words from the blaring loudspeaker. The manner and number with which you choose to protest is up to you. For me, it is writing. As long as you do protest, the rest is up to you. Whistles or wigs, high heels or hiking boots, wigs or bare heads. And now I have an important question for you. What do you imagine behind this curtain? Pretend you are in jeopardy, and the way you will answer this question will determine the rest of your life. So what goes behind this curtain? You have exactly 60 seconds to think of your response. When this curtain rises, what will you see? Is the only answer. Yourself. The other two contestants failed miserably, one guessing a toad and the other an old shoe. I have shown that for the large majority of millions of the people from every state, especially many small towns, it was their first time to march for anything, especially for a lesbian who was shot to death by ICE. Yet, like the 4 disciples of Jesus called from the seashore of Galilee, it was not a lifelong growth and maturity, but an instant decision to respond immediately to the clarion call of danger. Many of them not even having the time or materials to make signs. They just stepped out of their closed door into a world of unanticipated, albeit urgent action. So might you do, just as the 4 disciples, when the bugle sounds the alarm the next time. Grab your whistle and open the door wide. This act is guaranteed to change your life.